Welcome to Info World, where info starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And we grade the NFL draft for the NFC now. We did the AFC. Now we got the NFC. Let's start out in the NFC East. We have the Dallas Cowboys. I'm reading this off ESPN.com, by the way. So just to let you know, I'm not cheating. With the 12th selected, Tyler Booker, the offensive lineman out of Alabama. He's a guard, and everyone's like, well, what do you like? Tyler Booker's a good player, but didn't they want to go wide receiver? Yes. I'm fairly certain from all the research I have done that Tyler Booker was not the exact pick at 12. That they wanted Teteroa McMillan. But McMillan went to the Panthers, which we will get into. It was a great pick for them. The Cowboys were trying to trade back from 12, but the offers were not that good. Now, I'll explain the offers for trades. When you trade back, you're looking for a certain value. They have what is called a trade value chart. It's been around since the 90s. The Cowboys and Jimmy Johnson actually invented it, where we trade you this pick for this pick for this pick. This is the value of this pick. This is the value of this pick. This is the value of this pick. These two picks should equal this pick. That's why we're trading it. And if it doesn't, it's either less or more. We want either more for it or less for it. Depends on how it works. Dallas wasn't having that. The value wasn't very good. So they selected Booker at 12 instead of 20, which we had him at, mostly everyone had him ranked at pick 24. So 20 and 24 is not that different. But Booker does help them as it goes. The offensive line needed to be better. They couldn't get a push. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't really do anything in pass protection. So this does help. It's also 3 out of the last 5 times that they have drafted an offensive lineman in the first round, they have been named Tyler. Tyler Smith in 22, Guyton in 24, now Booker in 25. 3 of the last 5 years, they've drafted an offensive lineman in the first round named Tyler. That's kind of insane to think about, but it is indeed true. He's a good player. And hopefully the Cowboys do get... I trust the Cowboys with offensive linemen, but hopefully they do know what they're doing in this situation. To me, from the way Dallas drafted it afterwards, this is a B+ for them. This was really good. This is a good draft. Only would have been better if they had drafted a wide receiver in the first. So it's a B+ for the Cowboys. Giants. They drafted Abdul Qadir. That is a great move. The Giants actually killed this draft. They were really good. And what the most notable thing, it went down to a B+ because this was an A. This was an A for me. The Abdul Qadir pick was an A. They nailed that. What brought it down to a B+ for me was they selected Jackson Dart. They traded back into the first round with the Texans. They traded from 33 or 34 to 25 and selected Jackson Dart. He would have been there at 34, in my opinion, but they traded back into it. And they selected Jackson Dart. That's the reason it went down to a B+. Had it been Sanders or somebody else, maybe it would have stayed an A, maybe just even an A-. But to me, this brought it down to a B because I don't know a B+, because I don't know, like, how is this going to... Russell Wilson is the quarterback. He said that either just prior to the draft or after the draft ended. But he had said Russell Wilson's our quarterback. So it's Russell Wilson. The quarterback room is Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, and Tommy DeVito. You have the experience. You have the ability. But if the season starts to go south and you put him in there, could he make plays? That's the reason why I have it so much lower. But it was still a great draft by the Giants. I thought they did the best they've ever done in the draft, to be honest with you. Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles. They too traded up for a draft pick. They traded from 32 to 31 to select Jahad Campbell. Campbell had the shoulder issue. We didn't know where he was exactly going to be drafted, but he got drafted by the Eagles at 31. The Eagles tried to trade up with the Chargers at pick, I think it was pick 24, and they thought they had it done, but it wasn't. Like, it was basically done, but then the Chargers saw O'Marion Hampton was right there, and they said, well, we're not confident we can get O'Marion Hampton at 32, so we're just going to select him here instead. So they did that. The Eagles were eventually able to trade up with the Chiefs, so it worked out for their favor. But Howie Roseman did it again. He nailed this. This was a B+ for me. This was nailed. And the reason it wasn't an A was just because of the injury. That was it. It was an A. It's an A player. For most of these teams, it's an A player that the injury just brought him down to a B. It was a B+ for me. So it's 3 teams in the same division that have a B+. The only difference is the 4th team does not. The 4th team has a B-, in my opinion. As the Washington Commanders selected Josh Connolly, I thought they had more pass rush issues, so I didn't like the pick. I also think he's more of a guard than a tackle. But I did love the move with Laremy Tunsil. I love that move for them. But they were kind of thin on draft picks, so I thought they really had to nail this, and I don't think they did. So it's a B- for me. Connolly's a decent player, but it's a B- for me. But everyone in that division did a really nice job. Nothing lower than a B-. So that's kind of where I have it. Let's jump to the NFC North, where the Chicago Bears drafted Colston Loveland out of Michigan at pick 10 and number 10 overall. They had Tyler Warren on the board. I thought Tyler Warren was the better player than Colston Loveland. I don't exactly know why. I mean, they say here the tight ends coach is Jim Dray, who both played and coached for Jim Harbaugh. Well, actually, he scouted. That's not exactly coach. He scouted. So they wanted to do more 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. That's what they want to do. And Colston Loveland's more of a blocker, so that does give him more of ability. And they do have Cole Kmet. But I'm going to give them a B. A B. I thought Tyler Warren, if they would have drafted Tyler Warren, it would have been an A, in my opinion. But they did it. The Bears had a solid draft too. Lions selected Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle. Williams, I liked the pick. This was because of the injury to McNeil, where he tore his ACL. So I like this pick. I thought it was a good pick. He was a 2-year starter at Ohio State. He's going to be an immediate impact player. I got a A- on this grade. I really did like this choice. I think this was the second choice, for the Lions. I think they did want Tyler Booker, and Dallas selected him before they got there. So that would have been an A, a solid A if they got Booker. This is an A-. This was a really good choice, I think. Packers selected at pick 23 Matthew Golden. That's the first wide receiver that the Green Bay Packers have taken in the first round since 2002. Jalen Walker was the wide receiver they took back in those days. This was a move because Christian Watson tore his ACL last game of the regular season. You don't know when he's ready. You don't know when. You do have a couple players that have also been injured. This is an A+ for me. This was a big, massive move to draft a wide receiver. It fit. They can throw it. Now, Golden can run. We saw that at the combine. We didn't know he could run that fast, but he can run. This was a killer move for the Green Bay Packers. I loved this pick. I loved it for them. That was a great pick. For the Minnesota Vikings, they select. Hang on, what about my light is going out? They select Donovan Jackson at pick 24. He played at Minnesota. And I played at Ohio State. Excuse me. Look, I was a little intrigued by this move. I know they had offensive line problems, but they brought in Ryan Kelly and Will Fries from the Colts. So this one was a little shocking in my opinion, but it's still a B. It's just I was shocked by it. So it's a solid B from the Vikings. Jumping to the NFC South now. The Falcons selected Jalen Walker. I actually liked what the Falcons did, to be honest. The Falcons, I thought, made two really big moves. They drafted Walker and then drafted Pierce. Two big moves that they made. They needed pass rush help. Walker played at Georgia, gets to stay in Atlanta. It's a good move there. The drafting of Pierce also from the Volunteers. You know he had some character issues, but you need pass rush help. You really need pass rush help. You were dead last in pass rush. You need pass rush. So I love those two moves that they made. That to me is an A for the Falcons. They killed that first and second round of this draft. They really did. Panthers select Tedero McMillan at pick 8. This is an A+. This is the highest I got. This is an A+. They nailed this. 6'5" wide receiver to help out your young quarterback. He plays above the rim after it. And he's pretty good after the catch. He's not rated that way, but he pretty much is good at it. To pair him with Thielen, that's a great move. And this last line here from David Newton is, I think, a key line. It also suggests that they aren't convinced that the 2024 first-round pick Xavier can be a true number 1 wide receiver. Well, Leggett did have his problems, but he wasn't the number 1 wide receiver. Thielen was the number 1 wide receiver. Leggett had his problems, had a hard time getting open, had a hard time making catches. Like, he was dropping a lot. It was hard. Now, I understand he's a first-year guy, but that's part of the challenge here. You're a wide receiver in the NFL. You can't be making these mistakes. Or else you get a guy like Tedero McMillan, who's going to try to take your spot now. But that was an A+ move. Great job. Saints select Texas tackle Kelvin Banks. I didn't expect Banks to go this high. I thought he would go right around here, though. I thought he was going to the Niners at pick 11. This was a good move for them. They needed offensive line help. Kellen Moore nailed this pick. I honestly thought they were going to go wide receiver. The three places I thought McMillan could go before Dallas was Panthers, Saints, and 49ers. And he ended up going to the Panthers. Though I thought that it was a higher chance to go to the Saints or Niners than the Panthers. That's what I'll say. But I think they nailed this. They need an offensive lineman. With Ramczyk retiring, like that's who they needed. They needed a right tackle or a left tackle. They made this move. It was a good move. This was a B plus move. This is a good move. Tampa Bay select Emeka Egbuka to pair with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan. Good move. Good move. That wide receiving core becomes a lot better. I really thought they were going to go corner or edge, and they chose to go wide receiver because Egbuka just landed right on their lap. But it was a surprise move. I'll give it an A minus, more because they really didn't need it. So an A minus. Let's go to the Cardinals now. The Arizona Cardinals selected Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle. This is a good move. Calais Campbell, they signed Calais Campbell. They pair Nolan with Campbell, LJ Collier, Justin Jones, and Dalvin Tomlinson. This is a good move. You have a defensive tackle like Calais Campbell who's older. You don't know if he's going to play next year. So bringing a guy like Walter Nolan who's young, who can learn, I like that move. I also like the move they made later in the draft where they selected Will Johnson. Will Johnson ended up just falling because of long-term knee issues. Like, there's no guarantee he'll get a second contract because it's with that knee, you don't know exactly where he'll be in the next contract, if he'll be just done. Which I actually do like the approach that Walter Nolan did take. Was after the Will Johnson got drafted, he was a little upset that it took so long, and he asked the head coach Jonathan Gannon to have Will Johnson's phone number so he could talk to him. I thought that was a really nice move. So I'll give this one a B plus. Again, mostly because they really need it, but it was a good move by Arizona. Rams were slated to have the 26th overall pick, traded it to the Falcons so the Falcons could draft Pierce. They received a nice return in picks, but they ended up not selecting in the first round. So, NA. For the 49ers, they selected Michael Williams out of Georgia. This was a good move to pair him with Nick Bosa. Williams is far from a finished product, but pairing him with Bosa and allowing him to learn and basically take over the Leonard Floyd role, I like that move. B plus, just because not a finished product. But this was a good move by the 49ers. Really good move. For the final pick was the Seattle Seahawks, at least listed on ESPN.com anyway. They drafted guard Gray Zabel at pick 18. Zabel was a big need. The offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks has not been good for the recent years. So I give this one an A. This was an A. He's explosive. He's got, excuse me. He's got great vertical. He's got great power. He fits what Clint Kubiak wants to do. I like this pick. This is an A for the Seattle Seahawks, who quietly had a really solid draft. But let me know in the comments, who was the surprise in the draft, specifically on the NFC side? And I think my surprise was Emeka Egbuka falling to where he fell to and Tampa selecting him. But what do you guys think? Who was the biggest surprise pick to be drafted by an NFC team in this very draft? For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert.